All right, what's going on, guys? Just give you a quick update with my girl Daisy. Sorry for the angle, but I have my phone set while I'm driving here. So Daisy has been here for 9 days now, and if you remember, the biggest issue, she came to me, owners dropped her off, drove up all the way from Florida, very committed people, dropped her off, turned around, drove all the way back home to Florida. Her biggest issues were, you know, she gets a little wild, she takes off, she doesn't come back, she'll chase cows, she'll chase animals, whatever, and there's no getting her back, okay? Simple things. But then if you remember, once she got here, I started seeing, okay, those aren't the real problems. The real problems is she's pretty shut down and scared of the world. So my first job was to build her up and make her feel like a dog again, make her feel good about herself, right? And so day 9 here, if you guys saw the video yesterday, she's right where I need her to be. She's doing absolutely fantastic. I couldn't be happier about that. But now remember, those issues of her running off and not coming back and chasing animals, I haven't addressed that yet at all. I don't worry about that. I don't start addressing those behavioral issues when the dog gets here. It's not the right way to go about it. Those are easy things to fix once I have that trust in the relationship with the dog and we have a strong foundation. And she does have a strong foundation right now. But now we had a little setback. And the reason I'm talking about this and posting this, so people can learn from it. Dog owners and young dog trainers. It's important that we talk about these things so people learn and we stop making the mistakes, right? I think it's so much more important, or just as important, not how to do something, but avoid the mistakes that we've already made. Save people a lot of time, because if you do that, that's what helps the dogs, right? So yesterday, I started putting the e-collar on her in the morning, not using it. I was going to have her wear it for a few days before we actually start the e-collar work, before I introduce it to her. So I put it on her yesterday. I don't turn it on or nothing. I don't even have the remote around or nothing, just for her to wear it and get used to having that new feel on her neck. She wore it several hours throughout the day, a couple of times throughout the day. I put it on her first thing this morning, same thing. She's just gonna wear it for a few hours today, go about feeding her, playing with her, doing all the normal things, just making it part of her everyday life at this moment. And when you start the e-collar training, guys, you have to remember it needs to be part of their everyday life for a while, for at least a few months, okay? So it just becomes normal, second nature. But this morning, when I took her out, I had her in my fencing area off leash, and we were just gonna play a little bit and have a good time, and I was just gonna do some work with her food, all the basic things that you guys have been watching, and just let her run around and have a great time. And as soon as I started working with her, you know, there was a lot less spark there. She was a lot less excited than usual. Her drive just wasn't there. And once again, she went back to completely refusing food. Wouldn't take it. Turned her head away from it. So I'm like, okay. I tried a couple of times, and once she showed no interest, I just shut it down. We went back inside, and that was it. We were done. So I had my suspicions, and I sent her owners a text to say, let me ask you something. Have you guys ever had an e-collar on this dog before? To which I expected the answer to be, yeah, they did. They purchased an e-collar. They put it on her. They let her wear it for a few days. Any changes, she kind of changes. So she made the changes with that. But then they tried to follow the directions in the manual, and things did not go well, okay? Things did not go well. So I'm very grateful. I appreciate that they tell me this, because now we have something to work with. So what they did, just like, I guess, per the instructions in the manual, which I wish the e-collar companies would stop putting manuals in there and think of something different to do. Maybe a list of trainers to call and contact and follow, whatever, I don't know. But they put the e-collar on, started at 0, started holding the continuous button, turning up the dial, dialing up, if you remember. I don't dial up. And then they got up to 10 and there was nothing. So they took their finger off the button, reset it, turned the button, pressed the continuous button. They're turning up, nothing, nothing, nothing. Then it hits a 20 and the dog just jumps out of her skin and runs away. I said, okay, that makes sense. Totally makes sense now. Now I understand. And that happens all the time, guys. Like that, this isn't uncommon, right? If, you know, a few years back, if you follow me, a few years back, 70-something% of the dogs that I trained had already been blown up on an e-collar. Already went through really bad e-collar training, and I had to spend the first half of all their training just fixing that. So now this is, you know, we'll get this done, but it's going to be a little tough because of her temperament and personality, because she is so insecure and so fearful. But now I want you to think about this. If I put that e-collar on her and then put her on a long line, set it to a fairly aversive level, because her recall is very good when she's on a long line, right? So we know she knows what that come command is. We call her, there's something mildly distracting around. She doesn't respond, and we hit that e-collar on a fairly aversive level. What do you think happens to that dog? She's not going to recover. It's going to be very, very difficult, right? Very difficult. I would think most people could agree to that. So now I'm going to have her wear it a lot, start going about our regular business. I have to be able to get her to play with it on. If she won't chase a Frisbee or play ball with me anymore, you know, so I have to overcome that again first. And that's going to take a little time. I don't know. Maybe it won't. We'll see. But then when I introduce it to her, and I'm going to try to film every e-collar session and give details. It's not going to be any different than anything I ever do, right? But how do we get to change this dog's perception of what this tool is? She had a very, very traumatic experience in her head, right? It was probably quite aversive to her. So what most likely happened is the owners weren't making good contact with the e-collar. Most common issue we deal with, right? They're turning the e-collar up, up, up. There's no contact, no contact, no contact. All of a sudden, the dog moves a little bit. The e-collar makes contact when the level is already way too high, and you blast the dog. Happens every day. Every day to many, many people, many, many dogs. So now, I start from scratch. And I'll go to a place where there are no distractions and it's quiet, the best I possibly can. And I will start very low, like I always do, in that teaching phase, that conditioning phase. When she first feels that barely perceivable low-level e-collar come on, she's going to panic or she's going to freeze, right? Because of her past experience. She's going to struggle. If I hold that continuous button down and try to get her to figure it out, that's going to become more and more aversive, even on the lowest levels. It doesn't matter. So my job is to turn that e-collar on and give her guidance toward me immediately. Immediately. And the second she takes even a step towards me, I mark that, the e-collar turns off, I make a big deal about it. She's starting to learn how to turn it off now, and I'll do that for 2 or 3 minutes the first session. She's not going to take food, so I'm just going to use praise and show her, hey, this is pretty good, you're doing pretty good, you get it? You have all the power here, young lady. So I have to teach her how to escape it first, right? So when that e-collar comes on, it's a really bad thing in her head. There's a lot of confusion. She doesn't know what it is. I help her toward me with my body language, and the leash. I help her. Slight help with the leash. Showing her, come toward me, it goes away. 2 or 3 minutes, 3-4 times the first day, she'll start to catch on. But I'm also going to start sending her way to a place, but not from 10 feet away, not from 15 feet away, from 1 or 2 feet away. Because I also don't want her to think that this is like an underground fence and she has to be near me or it turns on. We don't want that. So I have to also teach her, go away from me. And I'm not doing that from far away. I'm doing it from right next to a command, right next to an object with the place command that she already knows very well. So I'm cheating and doing everything I can to help her win and change her perception, to overcome her fears with the electricity. It's that simple, right? It's that simple. I have to get her to when that tool is on, being used, she can go back to saying, oh, okay, no big deal. She'll chase a Frisbee, chase a ball, take food. First step. That's what I have to change around now. So although we were on real nice time frame with her and doing really well, this is definitely a setback. Now, some may say, then why bother with the e-collar? Well, why not fix it if we can, right? You remember the issues, chasing animals, chasing cows, all that stuff. I don't believe that a dog should live a life on a leash. No matter how long that leash is, dogs need to run. They need to run free without a leash on them. So people will say having an e-collar on isn't off leash, isn't true off leash. I understand what you're saying, but how do you think the dog sees it? How does the dog see that? To the dog, it is off leash. There's nothing attached. They can run as fast as they can within any distance that you allow. You get the 100% benefit of not having a leash attached, but you also have the safety for that what-if moment if the animal makes a mistake. It's that simple. It's that simple. I'm going 4 miles an hour here, by the way. A lot of traffic, and I got to get down to Nashville to see a client. Very, very important. So now we change her mindset from her other issues, her fears and insecurities. Now we have to start over. But that's dog training. That's pet dog training. That is pet dog training. And that could be frustrating. How do I deal with that frustration? Well, you just do it. And then I go out and I work with Dante, where we're teaching stuff, teaching him how to do things, which is fun and therapeutic, right? Very different when you're dealing with a dog like this. But again, I want you to think about it. If we set that e-collar to an aversive level, ask the dog to do what she knows well, and when she doesn't do it, hit that button. Do you think she recovers? Can we fix her that way? No way. That's why I do it the way I do. Exactly why, all these years, because it works. And it takes away the opportunity for the average dog owner to destroy their dog. It's that simple. Okay? So I'm focused more on the human end of the leash here than the dog. It makes it easy for people that even when they mess it up, you're not going to mess up the dog. So I hope someone takes something out of this, okay? Peace.